Welcome to Shielded Voices, the podcast where we break the stigma, build resilience, and support the men and women who serve our communities. I'm Mitch, a dedicated law enforcement professional with over 8 years of full-time experience and a combined 15 years of experience in law enforcement. My journey began as a police cadet, a reserve police officer, and now I am a full-time deputy. I am a defensive tactics instructor, an emergency vehicle operations instructor, and a former drug recognition expert. Now, I'm here to share the conversations that matter the most.
And I'm Brian, a deputy with over 15 years of service. I bring my experience as a defensive tactics instructor, emergency vehicle operations instructor, field training officer, a member of the riot team, as well as a narcotics team as a liaison. I'm also a veteran of the United States Army, and I am passionate about faith, family, and supporting our brothers and sisters in law enforcement.
Together, we're here to share stories, insights, and real talk about the challenges and triumphs of life in law enforcement. Whether it's breaking down the barriers around mental health, reflecting on our own shared experiences, or providing tools for growth and recovery, we're here to have the conversations that matter.
Our goal is simple: to support first responders, foster open communication, and remind everyone in this community that they are never alone. This is a space for growth, connection, and building stronger voices together.
Thank you for joining us. Let's dive into today's episode where we continue to break the silence. I did want to read one thing after ending on Deputy Ishmael's tragic death. I want to get into mental health aspect of a dispatcher and helping officers, deputies, other first responders understand what you guys truly go through, being the individual, the lifesaver behind the headset. I wanted to read something to you, and I want this to sink in for some of the officers and deputies who might not think this way. It's important with my wife, and I think it's important for dispatchers to try to get this out to the officers. So as 911 emergency dispatchers vicariously live the emergency call along with the caller, the call ends abruptly when police and fire departments arrive on the scene. This leaves the dispatcher wondering whether the parties that were involved lived or died. There is often no way for the dispatcher to fully process the traumatic event because there is no way to get closure. This is very important for officers, deputies, anyone in the first responder community to understand that we can help reduce traumas and stress by following up with our dispatchers and helping them cope through this traumatic event. I think it's important. I would say, Deborah, you probably agree with me.
Oh, absolutely. Being in a smaller department, I think we were at an advantage because we could, because of being smaller and because of what we did, we had more closure with calls. We knew what happened, and the deputies would come in and come give us story time and tell us what happened, which I think was really good. But there are those that you don't know what, because it's so busy that night, you don't take, you don't take the time. You don't have the time to find out what happened.
Right.
There was a lot of those that happened, but I mean, for the majority, just, we had more closure than, like, when I was down in Sacramento. I didn't have a lot of closure with things. Because the department was so big and because nobody came up to visit and things like that.
Yeah, for us, it's harder for the smaller agencies or the people that we don't communicate with. Like, I can go tell Brian, hey, make sure you follow up with our call taker, or hey, let dispatch know what happened. They hear us screaming on the radio, fighting. They hear us say those magic words, we have one in custody, and it's a sigh of relief for them. But they don't know all the events that led up to that or during the event. All they hear is radio silence. Yep. It's important that we give you guys closure. And help
definitely.
You heal.
And don't forget those all-important status checks.
Which Brian misses all the time.
Brian's dying on the floor right now.
Brian misses those all the time.
Oh, you're a liar. I can honestly say I've missed 2 in 16 years. So you shut up.
Very good.
I know.
Because as an FTO, you're so in tune to the radio to keep your. And for us, the status check is a 10 code 1052.
The worst thing that we hear is nothing when we do those.
Yeah. But y'all get so impatient about it. Like, give me a minute to get to my radio. Like for us, it's like I'll use the last portion of my call sign. 266-1052. Signal 2, no response, and I'm like, holy crap! I haven't even.
Wait a minute.
Calm down.
Or work in Western County, you got to walk to your car.
Mic. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
So my favorite, I used to have this. Where was that? This was at my desk at all times, and so when I wouldn't get anything,
everyone knew. Get ready.
Did you actually play that on the air?
No.
Oh, I got you.
I think there was one time I did, but it was like, if we didn't get anything, you'd definitely be hearing me push that button all night.
The best is when you have a recruit on the scene and you stare at the recruit waiting for them to answer the status check.
And they're like, what? You didn't tell me to do that. It's
Then the recruit gets the hand, everyone's staring at him and he thinks I need to do something.
Mitch, you're speaking from experience.
I am. Yep. Or last call, you hear the sirens, you go, what the fuck is
running?
The
strange
show up to you.
The strange transmission that you get. I don't know if you guys would ever have that, like you hear somebody fighting or you think you hear something going on and nobody's answering and it's like, okay, everything stops and we call it roll call. We do a roll call and make sure everybody's okay. So, yeah.
You said strange transmission. What is the most comical or strangest transmission you've heard?
I have a story for you.
Let's hear it.
So in the middle of the night at 3:14 in the morning, we get this transmission over the air. Oh, wow. Oh, baby. And nothing after that.
Uh-oh.
Let your mind wander, everyone, for a little bit. Now, mind you, the Penal Code 314 in California is, what would you call that? Lewd and lascivious exposure.
Stars are aligning. Okay.
Running around naked. So we were laughing about that, first of all. So we did I did a roll call, and each time I'd say a unit, I'd say like 12 Edward, and you'd hear back instead of 12 Edward, you'd hear, wasn't me. We finally figured out one of the deputies was doing something inappropriate with a waitress in a parking lot.
Oh, that'll get you fired.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, hearing everybody else going, it wasn't me, not me, didn't do it.
And it's every time that happens, like for those of you that can't see, like I'm tapping my lapel. Anytime I hear an open mic, I'm tapping my lapel to make sure it's not.
Oh,
even if it's
make
just
sure
an open mic.
Down.
Right, even if it's nothing bad, right? It's just an open mic. I'm like,
restarting your pack
nope,
sets.
not me.
Now, funny story to that, the deputy, he had been gone for years. I was his daughter's trainer, and she didn't know about this incident or about what kind of person her father was. And I did everything I could to make sure nobody told her.
Yikes.
Oh, no.
Yeah she didn't make it as a dispatcher, but I mean, it was still, oh, God. Yeah, that was a night. Yeah.
Brian, do you remember, do you have any stories about interesting radio transmissions?
I'm about to play you one, believe it or not. Ooh, check this out. So this is, so a little bit of lead up. We actually just had this person on, Scott, and I'm going to dive him out because it's his open mic from years ago. So inside of our cars, we have rifle racks. And back in those days, Scott had an MP5. He's having a hard time with the locking mechanism to get this MP5. He's just in the parking lot at the precinct. He's having a hard time, and I'm going to see if I'm hoping. Give me a second, but I'm going to turn it up here and try to put it up to the mic, and hopefully it'll play and we'll be able to use it. But basically, what's happening is he's leaning over in his car. When we used to have the big lapel mics, he's pushing the button on his mic, and you can hear a guy in the background like Scott, he's like, what? It's like, oh shit. So let me see if I can play it here. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's see.
Open mic on channel 1. Open mic on channel 1.
Hopefully that
awesome.
came through.
Oh,
Hopefully
my favorites were when you guys switch from radio to your speaker.
Oh yes,
your mic,
the
and they would forget to switch. So
yes.
they think they'd be yelling at the guy out there, and they're actually yelling on the radio.
Oh,
and then I had one sergeant that before we had body cams or recorders that they could take with with you guys.
Mm-hmm. We're good.
He would click his mic and let the guy confess on the recorded radio.
Oh, love it!
Oh my God, those were entertaining nights.
That is, I love that. Yeah, there's. I mean, I've got several. There was a sergeant back in the day that gave me emailed me a couple of these, and we had there was a couple of them I can think of. We had one guy, he's running code, and people aren't saying, like you were saying, and there's two different. For those of you who don't know, there's two microphones in our cars, one for the radio, one for the PA, that talks to the public right outside of our car, and we're working graveyard, and radio's not real busy, but he's running code to go to something, right? Lights and sirens. And he grabs what he thinks is the PA, and he's like, get the fuck out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way. And you hear, open mic on channel 1. Channel 1's open mic. Like, oh, it was so funny.
Yeah. It was. Did you guys have the duplex radio so you could hear when there was an open mic? You could hear the dispatcher?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we didn't have that
dispatch
at our department.
Oh,
so
no.
we would have to go call the other agency that they would have on their scanner, and we'd have to call that agency and have them do it for us and say open mic.
If I'm the one with the open mic, no, I cannot hear anybody.
Well, I mean, if somebody where in our department, if somebody had an open mic, they would jam up the whole channel.
Yes,
you couldn't hear. So if somebody was listening to it, you couldn't hear it. So we would have to call another department to have them do a transmission to say that we had an open mic.
Right.
So they could hear it on the scanner.
We just start blowing up their cell phone because as deputies we hear it. They have an open mic, but we can still hear. Like if let's say,
well, we didn't know who it was. We didn't have a thing to tell us who it was at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I imagine it was probably like that back in the analog days. I mean, everybody's going digital now, but there's, we had a deputy driving a transport van.
I was working this day.
Were you really?
I was sitting in the briefing room.
Tell it then. If you were working, you tell it because I wasn't.
I remember sitting in the briefing room. There's probably 6 of us at the main headquarters table. And it's silent. We're getting ready for the start of our shift. We're writing in our notebooks. And we hear, hey, put your dick away. We all look at each other. And we know it's none of us because we were silent. Well, it turns out the transport deputy who drives a transport van mistaken the rear PA for the back prisoner cage for our main radio channel.
Oh, nice.
Then you hear a sergeant get on the radio. The sergeant says, that last unit, give me a call. Radio silence.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So the guy in the back of the van was taking his pants off. That's the... yeah.
Gross.
Love it. That's a day in cop work.
Yeah,
whatever.
I know, huh?
I've probably seen more naked people in the last 16 years than I have in 52 years of life.
I'm just like, okay.
Yep. No.
I'm good.
Yeah, we have just like everybody does, right? Everybody's got the
Oh yeah.
local clientele that everybody knows, and I'll use a fake name, but it'd be no big deal to be driving through my district and be like, oh, Jane's naked again, running down the street, tweaked out on meth, right? Mitch is nodding his head. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All the good stuff.
Working for 2 departments. San Francisco?
Sacramento.
And then El Dorado.
Oh, God help me if it was San Francisco. Sorry, ladies that are listening. You guys are much better than me.
Our dispatch center has a lot of administrative, I wouldn't say issues, but there's conflict between the administration and the dispatchers. Did you see any of that between either of those departments?
Sacramento. I'm trying to think. There wasn't, because dispatch was its own entity. So the person in charge of the manager in Sacramento had been a dispatcher. So
okay.
So she had come up through the ranks, and so that wasn't too terrible. And even in El Dorado, the manager that was there when I started, she had also come up as a dispatcher. Where we had the issue was after she left in 2012, they put a civilian manager in over us. Oh yes, I see your face, Brian. Oh, it was a shit show and a half. I'm sorry.
That's like making a civilian a sergeant over cops. For those of you that don't know, that's insane.
And it was a guy. So you put this guy, civilian guy and he was from the IT department.
Oh,
which,
God.
I have a story about that. My desk was far away from his office for a reason. He came in and wanted to make everybody happy. And he called me into his office one day. I guess he was doing this with everybody and goes, well, what do you think we could do for better? And I looked at him and I go, you can't make everybody happy. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Make some decisions.
Yeah. You're the boss.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, what the hell?
Why? That's insane to me that they would have somebody that's not even heard of where we come from. Not even heard of.
It's like, you can't make everybody happy and pull up your big girl panties and make a decision. And so somebody's upset. Big deal.
Yeah.
This is a job. This is, the amount of trainees that he tried to keep that were not qualified to be in dispatch.
Mm-hmm.
We see that a lot.
Oh, it was horrible. It was awful.
We have that too. We have critical staffing issues with our dispatchers, and they're hiring these individuals that may not be prepared or ready to become call takers, but they push them through anyways because they have staffing issues.
Right.
We see a little bit of that within our patrol division where we're hiring these young people and their experience is lacking, but we're pushing them through because we have staffing issues.
Yeah, and then you end up with either really bad cops or people with mental health issues.
And it's not even like, I would even go so far. It's the people that I see the people that I've seen that have been denied to be, you're like, no, this is somebody that needs to be in a cop car.
Yeah.
And then the people they push through, you're like, I know of, and I won't name any agencies, but I know of an agency on more than one occasion that in the interview process, not even anything to do with background or psych or anything, turned down military special operators. And I mean, Rangers, Green Berets, former SEALs.
Those are the best kind of people you want.
At the time, because they had sleeve tattoos.
Oh, for the love of God.
And it's like, these are guys that could walk into this agency and train everybody in this agency the right way to do shit tactically.
Who
you know
cares?
what I mean? It's just
give them long sleeves.
Yeah, those days are. A lot of those days I think have passed when it comes to the tattoos, right? Like
gosh, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Clearly, as Mitch and I sit here in tattoos, my whole
Yeah.
back, my legs, my
But yeah, some of the
but
policies
people,
that are just, it's just crazy.
But the
And
people that
so
we're bringing in now, compared to the people that we need, it's no longer we've talked about it before. Like when I got hired, there were, almost 3,000 applicants for 5 positions. And during my interview process, I really focused on, coming from my background that I did in the military, my focus was on that warrior mentality. I would be afraid to even bring up the word warrior in an interview process to be a cop now. You'd be
oh
probably
gosh,
kicked
yeah,
out the door.
absolutely.
The people that come in now, and no offense to those of you that are coming through this process, do what you got to do to get hired. Good on you. But as a field training officer, as a defensive tactics instructor, I can't tell you how many times, and Mitch knows this, him and I have taught together, right? We get this class together, and show of hands. How many has been in a fight? Not one hand, which is good, right? They haven't been in fights, so they can hold their temper. I'm okay with that. Not the generation I come from.
Nope.
But then the other one is, who's played contact sports? Nothing. Okay. Who's played sports of any kind? You'll get one hand. Okay, what sport? Oh, golf.
Oh,
I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Which is cool.
Well,
you played golf.
yeah.
And the general consensus of even with, and I've heard it with dispatchers too, why do you want to be a cop, or why do you want to be a dispatcher? Man, I figured I'd give it a try. Like, what? This is not something you just give a try, but that's the way society is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the definitions that are given, like, oh, I can answer a phone. Oh, honey, that ain't all it.
Yeah.
You just kind of, that's where I got my evil laugh from, actually. It was from being a trainer.
Yeah, imagine 10 computer screens listening to a call, dictating that call, and trying to dispatch it. That's a lot of work.
And answering a phone and coordinating backup or support services. And yeah. Oh my gosh. So my interesting story regarding my former manager. So he had been in IT, and he had this brilliant idea of giving dispatchers wireless mice on their computer.
And technology fails.
And what do you do when your wireless mouse fails during a pursuit?
Runs out of battery.
So they had to get, we had another one that we could do, but it's like, are you kidding me? So he walked in dispatch one day, and I said, hey, manager, you just gave me something to throw at you. We had wired mice the next day.
Well, kudos to him for listening to a tenured dispatcher, I guess. Like,
oh yeah, I was serious. It's like, I'll throw this at you. I mean, at least
believe you. I believe you.
It's like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, at 3 a.m, when you don't know your mouse is about ready to die, and you have that pursuit, and you're the only one in the room because your partner just went out to go to the bathroom.
Wonder what that's like, Mitch, to actually have pursuits still. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't. My best one lasted for like 45 minutes. It was awesome.
Yeah, I have one. I still have, and I have the recording for it. My one of my pursuits was 36 minutes, and it was so much fun. Much fun. And I got to pit at the end. I mean, I got to do all the things. Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome.
I got to add a girl letter and a write-up for the same pursuit.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I violated policy by echoing the pursuit, so I got a write-up, but I got an add a girl because I heard it and echoed it so that everybody could get to where he was at. So you go figure that one out.
No, look, I'm not even going to act surprised on that, because I know how these agencies work. Police agencies, dispatch agencies. Like,
it's just
they will
it's
slap
just
you for one
amazing.
thing and praise you for the same. You're like, I don't understand the politics of this.
Oh yeah, that, and we eat our own, and that's part of the part of the whole trauma for your whole career. It's like, oh my God.
You're not wrong when you say we eat our own, and
we eat our own.
And it's sad and unfortunate, and we've talked about that on other podcasts too, where this is a community that we should be standing arm in arm, locked, not just when it counts, but period. And
that's the one thing. Being a trainer, I was able to kind of, I don't know, protect my trainee, but I definitely stood up for them, and it's like, give them the chance.
Yeah.
Quit doing this to these trainees that are, quitting 2 weeks after because you people won't stop being little chickens and gossiping about them. It's just awful.
Yeah, Brian, you said standing arm in arm with, our arms locked together. I think we're doing a better job with dispatch because dispatchers are now honored as first responders.
Thank God. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's still state by state. They haven't done the national one yet because they keep trying to piggyback it onto budgets and things like that. And the way the national political environment is right now, it keeps going away. So that's one thing that we really need people to call up their representatives and say, hey, let's get this passed. It's called the 911 Saves Act. And we really need that to pass. Yeah, because it not only gives dispatchers that new classification within the federal government that bleeds over to the states, but also allows us better access to mental health care.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Makes the workman's comp system, recognize us for injuries on duty.
If you want to get down to brass tacks, the dispatchers are the first responders, literally.
We are the first responders, and we are also the forgotten first responders.
Yes. Now, fire guys are second responders. Let's just call it like it is.
And they can't go to a scene without us clearing it, so I'm just saying.
See, we're on the same page. Mitch is over there shaking his head.
I love my fire guys, though.
Oh, we do too.
I love them.
We say in every podcast, we give them so much shit, and I can't wait to have a fire guy. Mitch's dad's a firefighter at the agency where we work, so I can't wait to have, because they're so very important.
They see our mental health issue in a different light.
Yeah, because
they can go to a call and then sit and shoot the shit at the station afterwards, where we can't.
Yeah,
and it's such a different a dynamic that they have, and a lot of them have a better outlook with this now.
I can say that the fire agency, the large fire agency where we work, and everybody in the state knows this fire agency. I think, and Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong, but first of all, their resiliency program, people apply with them from all over the country because of how well they take care of their people.
Oh, wow.
And they're the ones, at least I know, in our area, they're the ones that kind of really kicked off the whole mindfulness resiliency thing that kind of spread.
Very nice.
Do you know more about their program, Mitch? Or
I don't. No, I'm not sure, but I know that I know that there is a program in place.
Yeah, and has been for quite a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and
I know there's a lot going on in Washington right now. I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Luttrell. He's over in Kennewick.
I know. The Luttrell family. As far as, are you talking about in the special operations community, the Luttrells?
In the law enforcement community, Mr. Luttrell. He also has a podcast.
I'll have to look him up.
The Gravity podcast, but he's doing a lot for resiliency and stuff within the first responder community. He's one of he just retired too, not too long ago. But yeah, he's one of us retired folks, and he's going out and making a difference up there in Washington. So
good. Yeah, I'll have I will definitely have to look him up then, because I mean, especially if he's got a podcast, I'd definitely be interested in that.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Deborah, if you had one piece of advice as far as mental health and dispatchers, what would that be?
I'm glad you clarified that.
I was going to say between that one piece of advice on the radio for us or for dispatchers.
Run the other direction. No.
Right. And that's so funny. You get to a point in your life where you're like, what would be the one piece of advice, Brian, that you would give to somebody looking to be a cop? Don't do it.
Be a firefighter.
Don't do it. Yeah. No, it's actually a really good job and all of that. But in your first year, and this applies not only to dispatchers, but cops, firefighters, nurses, emergency workers, everywhere, get yourself a therapist the first year you start working. Find that person. If the first person you talk to doesn't work out, find somebody else. Get that person that gets you. Somebody that is culturally competent, trauma informed, and has the resources to help you, because when the shit hits the fan, you want that person there for you, whether it's a year down the road or 10 years down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me a while to find the right therapist. I was able to eventually. And this therapist knows mental health within the first responder community, so that's even more helpful.
Yeah, and it's so important because God, I basically grew up in this community. I mean, I started when I was 25. Hell, I joined the military when I was 19. So I've been in this game a long, long time. And it was a suck it up, buttercup mentality all these years. And very, if you can't handle it, get out, and it's like, it shouldn't have been like that. But we are getting so much better with handling traumas and mental health issues. I mean, there's so much, people don't realize how much depression and anxiety that we get in our careers. There's a reason why cops, when they go out to dinner with their families, have their backs against the wall and can see the front door.
I can't break that habit. Cannot break that habit.
And unfortunately, my husband does that, so I can't see the front door. So it makes me even more anxious.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was standing in line at a fast food place, and some little kid popped a balloon behind me, and I just lost it.
Yep.
I mean, it's bad, but we need to recognize that, because those people that aren't getting help with their mental health are the ones that are going to cause an accident. I mean,
or
you guys
do something detrimental to their career or their
exactly.
family.
I mean, who would you rather have as your backup? Somebody that's in therapy, working on their issues, or somebody that's not?
Right.
I mean, it's just I know
you see that there's so much. I can say, looking back on my career, I'll call it what it is. It's denial. I mean, it's flat denial.
Absolutely.
It's funny because Mitch and I just read this book called Fit for Off Duty by Peter Salerno. Very educated, psychiatrist, psychologist. And like one of the first things he says in this book is there's not a cop, and this one is specifically for cops. He has one for firefighters called Fit for Off Duty. It's a quick read, 70 pages. Anybody listening, if you're a firefighter, read it. If you're a cop, read the one for cops. But the first thing he said was, for the cop, there's not a cop alive that has not been traumatized. It doesn't exist.
That's right.
Because the fact of the matter is, if you haven't been traumatized by the job a little bit, you're a sociopath.
Well, and it's not
other issues.
Yeah. Yep. And it's not an if something will affect you. It's when is it going to affect you?
That's right.
We don't come into this profession and leave the same people.
No. I'm not the same. And I've said it before, just for me, I'm not the same man I was 6 months ago, because I've come through my own mental health journey over the course of a year, but really the last 6 months of not being at work, being on leave.
Yeah.
And that time away has been
Isn't it
I didn't.
glorious? I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't.
It's just wonderful.
It was. I'll be honest. It was forced on me.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. For those of you listening, I didn't do anything bad. I didn't. Nothing like that. It's not. And those of you that know me, call me. I'll tell you. But for me, it's been a godsend. Because it makes you kind of reflect, like, oh man, I was broken.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I'm super broken.
Well, and
To the
how many?
point where, for me, and I say it, I've said it on other podcasts, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but we've never met, Deborah. So for me, I'll tell you in a nutshell. In August, my wife left me. My kids want nothing to do with me, and it was because of, now that's all come back.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I are doing better than we have. We've been together 31 years. We communicate, but it's because I realized I'm broken. Something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
And it took that cataclysmic event. And my hope for anybody listening is no cataclysmic events. Get a hold of it first. And it goes back to that. I've been in denial for years because it's that suck it up and drive on.
Yeah.
You deal with 10 hours of pick your call, whatever BS you're dealing with. You come home, you go to bed, you wake up, you eat, you work out, you go right back to work.
Yep.
Right, Mitch?
And then your days
Mitch
off, you're self-medicating.
Sometimes, yeah. and whether that's, it's a whole other thing, man.
Yeah.
Like these places,
I mean,
it's okay for you to drown yourself in whiskey, but by golly, don't eat a gummy to calm down. You know what I mean? Something, but the
they're worth it. Let me tell you, they're worth it.
Man, there's so
now
many
that I'm no longer working.
Right? Yeah. Well, but think about that. And we've talked about that before too. You think about the, and the reasoning behind it, I know with policies that I'm aware of, it's like, well, but there's still federal laws against marijuana. Okay, stop. First of all, if you look at the federal laws of marijuana, in 2017, the federal law for marijuana was changed by the sitting president at that time, where there's an amount to it. So you're not talking about having pounds of marijuana in your house.
No.
So there is no federal law against having a gummy anymore. So they can't, these agencies that have these policies against any derivative of marijuana.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. It's
insane. But there's no policy against drinking a fifth of Jack Daniels.
Or coming to work with, Vicodin.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God, my back hurts. Yeah,
right?
tried this. Oh, yeah, I used to have migraines really bad. And yeah.
Crazy.
I will have to say, not being at work for the last 3 months I've improved physically as far as my heart. So my blood pressure has gone down.
Oh, yeah.
My resting heart rate has gone down. My mental health has improved drastically. It's incredible what this job can do to you. If you don't take care of yourself or your mind, it's terrible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's also another book. Oh, where is it? Dr. Gilmartin.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Emotional
survival. For
that gets handed out at Academy here.
Oh, good. Because that's like the Bible. I mean, I love that.
It is. What's crazy about that book, I've probably read that book, I bet it's got to be 6 or 7 times by now. Because I had somebody, Scott, guy that was just on, he actually told me when we got that book in Academy, he's like, read it in your first year, read it at year 5, read it again at year 10, read it again at year 15. And it's like you said, for me, it's like the Bible, because I can read a verse in the Bible and it means something different every day.
Exactly.
That book's the same way.
That one really, so my first open heart surgery, my first officer involved shooting, I was a mess afterwards. I mean, I was driving home. I was crying so much. I couldn't see the traffic, and at the time I was driving 45 miles one way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a danger.
Right.
And
physiological response.
I read that book in between my first and second officer involved shooting and started working out, changed my diet a little bit. I was still smoking, but that's a whole other thing. And the way I handled it emotionally, the second one was far, far better than I did the first one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were both traumas, but it was, though I wasn't that blubbering pile of goo on the floor.
Right. Well, the smoking, the nicotine use, period, in law enforcement
good Lord.
I don't think I know of people that I stopped. I chewed tobacco for years. Now, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Never even put one in my mouth, believe it or not. Chewed tobacco, but then I switched over to what we call, the Zyn pouches, nicotine.
Oh, yeah.
But I go back to that physiological response with nicotine. When you're working shift work, it helps keep you awake. Nicotine and micro dosing is actually healthy, believe it or not. It's actually pharmaceutical.
I can
nicotine.
believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's brain healthy. But it's that hypervigilance thing.
Oh, yeah.
I know female deputies that have a nicotine pouch in their mouth. Not that it's a guy-girl thing. It's not like it's chewing tobacco. But I don't think Mitch probably has 2 nicotine pouches in his mouth right now.
I do.
He does. There it is. Yeah.
Well,
I went away
dispatchers
from
lived on, we live on caffeine and cigarettes.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way it was.
That's right. And I personally, for me, I stopped. I went through. I'm a health guy. I'm a fitness guy, and I can tell you, people that know me know I'm a fitness dude. Fitness will help a little bit. It's important. It's important. It is definitely a stress combatant. But for those of you that are thinking like, I'm just going to start working out more and that's going to take care of it, it's not going to take care of it.
No.
It's going to help.
It's part of the solution. It's not.
I'm a pretty fit guy, and I was fucked up. I don't know how else to say it.
But it going out and doing a run after a critical incident is a fabulous way to get rid of all of that flipping adrenaline.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, because now we're dealing with at the incident, we're dealing with the dopamine. Then we've got the cortisol dump, so we're trying to balance that, and fitness does absolutely.
And doing something after, that's what I would do. Is after that, I would do a good run, and it was wonderful. You felt great afterwards, and you did, then you could work on whatever was going on in your brain.
Yeah,
yeah. Holy moly!
Well, where are you at? So you've come through this 28-year career. What at 28 years was there something that made you just finally say, "I'm done," or were you just, "I'm eligible"?
Oh no,
and it's time to retire anyway?
I was told I was done.
Really?
Yeah. So, I lasted a year.
After
the incident, and I had a supervisor that said, "Hey, there's something wrong with you." And she took me in the office, handed me a stack of paperwork to fill out for workman's comp, and said, "There's a phone," because there's a procedure. You have to make a phone call also to start this whole workman's comp thing. But I was the first dispatcher to go through workman's comp in our department for mental health.
Wow. So something was going on.
Well, and it didn't help that I had a supervisor. So I had this supervisor back when I had my open heart surgery that sent me. And then I had a second supervisor that did the same thing to me after my critical incident. Plus, you're taking a person who's had a trauma, who needs help. I mean, I needed to get in to see a therapist.
Yeah.
And then dump COVID restrictions on them.
Oh God, yes.
So what? So 2019, and then we go into COVID right there, early 2020. Well, nobody had figured out how to do telehealth.
Oh yeah.
So it took a while for my telehealth to get there, and I hadn't seen a therapist in like 9 months when my supervisor finally said, "Enough is enough. You need to go get yourself some help." And so I went down that. And when they took me out, so when you go down the workman's comp road, it took me out of my personal therapist. So I had to go see a psychiatrist and do all the things with workman's comp. I couldn't double up. So I couldn't see
Interesting.
my
Is that the
personal
case?
one.
Mitch, sorry, Mitch.
I'm going through that right now. My workers' comp doctor referred me back to my psychiatrist.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's
Mhm.
good. Well, see, for some reason they didn't do that here in California. It's California. So I was with this one, and then she deemed me permanently disabled about 5 months after I went to see her.
It's a common question that I get is, are you coming back? When are you coming back? Do you think you're going to get out? Are you going to leave? And I told my doctor, I want to get better and I want to go back. And she was surprised. She said a lot of people that walk into my office don't know the answer to that question yet. And most of the time, she declares them medically unstable to work. And she was shocked that I wanted to get back and that I was actually trying to get better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
and that's going to be
my psychiatrist. When I went to see her, she finally signed me out. She said, "No, you can't go back in there." I mean, she gave me light duty because I still wanted to work. But then she finally said, "No, you can't work." And I said, "So you're going to take me, this person that needs something to do all the time, and you're going to set me in this box of a house that has COVID restrictions, mind you. I'm October 2020. We're still on.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, you're going to set me and get me and put me in my own head. And you're only going to see me once a week? What's going on here? Why are you doing this?
Familiar. That's all too familiar.
It's just, it's horrible.
Yeah, my supervisors knew I was dealing with depression and anxiety, and they said, you're going to sit in this office and take calls from the computer and limit your socialization.
Okay.
Which is the one thing, which is what you need.
Well, yeah, you need to be working and doing things. And then when I was on light duty, they said, oh, you can't work the radio. So they put me on phones, which is actually worse. Because you're dealing with the unknown every single time you pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Where is working a radio, I knew what was going to be happening.
Right. And you somewhat had, like somebody of your tenure, like, you know what's going to happen before it happens because you're clicking
absolutely.
buttons. You know what I mean? That's second nature. Wow.
Yeah. And so so she finally signed me out, and I was like, okay, I went kicking and screaming. But I did it. And then the deputies union got me a scholarship and sent me on a trauma retreat.
Oh,
wow. In December of 2020.
And where was that at?
Up in El Dorado County. It was a smaller one that one of the local therapists, a psychologist, was doing. And so that was good. It was 5 other people with me. And yeah, it was great.
And have you, so this is still during workers. So when did you actually, you're on workers' comp, because honestly, looking back, I'm guessing, thank the good Lord for that supervisor that said, hey, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And then when did you actually be like, and submit paperwork and retire? Was it during your workers' comp?
So, my retirement day was June 1st, 2021.
And it was 28 years of service.
28 years.
Wow. That's all the accumulative trauma over 28 years. And to think back about the people in your lives, the supervisors, the coworkers, the people that put their arms around you that noticed something, like, what a godsend! What a career! First of all, thank you for your service of 28 years. I mean, you are literally, we on the front lines we're knuckle draggers, and you guys are our angels. That's just you just are. I've told every dispatcher that. So then in retirement, what's your focus now? Because I know you're this the power of our story. Talk to us about your
oh my gosh,
where you're at now and what
I'm doing.
Do.
Okay, so a month before my psychiatrist signed me out, my grandson was born. He's fabulous.
New purpose. I love it.
And so he's been my best buddy since. I watch him Monday through Friday. And he's 4.5 now. He's also autistic, so it's given me an even bigger purpose.
Yeah.
So he went from being mostly nonverbal last year to talking my ear off this year. I've taken classes on speech therapy and how to work with him.
Yeah.
I'm actually teaching him. We do preschool stuff. So he knows his alphabet.
Cool.
He knows all his planets, even Pluto. And I will die on that hill.
He knows more than I do about that. I can tell you that. We've
got him counting up to 30. He knows.
He's 4?
He's 4.5. Wow. He has like about 150 sight words that he does.
Okay.
But we're just best buddies. We sing and talk and build Legos. And this morning we were on the floor playing Legos before I jumped on with you guys.
Love it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And then on the weekends I work on a real job. I'm a receptionist.
Oh, okay. Just something to keep busy.
Something to keep busy and talk to adults so that I'm not always talking to a 4-year-old.
Right. Well, I mean, is your husband still working too, I take it?
Yes, he's still working.
Yeah.
He works for the state of California as an IT person.
Okay.
So
one of those. Gotcha.
But he has actually been my rock.
I love that.
Through all of this. And, he sees a lot of changes in me over the last year. And he goes, "You're so calm now." Where, before I wasn't.
Yeah.
But, lots of doings. And, my husband was actually one that said, "I don't want you getting a job for 6 months after I retired."
Good.
He goes, because that's where I was working towards. I was like, I need to go back to work at least, 3 or 4 days a week. And he's like, "Nope, 6 months, take it off.
Decompress."
You know, I mean, I had a lawsuit with the county and won, so I had enough money for that.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the county you worked for?
Why, the county I worked for, yes.
Oh, interesting. I guess we won't get into those details. There's that laugh. There's that trainer laugh.
Let's just say that it was more than the psychiatrist said that only 30% of my disability was related to my job. And my attorney said otherwise.
Good for you. Good for
got you. Okay.
So yeah.
I see. Okay. What's interesting is Mitch and I find in agencies, right? In general, agencies, plural, that a lot of the people we talk to, a lot of their traumas come from within, not necessarily just the calls they deal with, but the administration they deal with.
The administration, the supervisors, their coworkers, I mean, it's the whole, it's the whole package.
It is.
I loved my job. Don't get me wrong. I loved doing what I did for a living.
Absolutely.
Yep. It was the most rewarding thing I've ever done. But some of the people I worked with shouldn't have been there.
Yep. I know.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Right. They know who they are. Or maybe they don't. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah. It's definitely been I had a conversation with somebody in law enforcement that was telling me about, because they listen to this podcast and they're actually looking at because of this podcast, they're looking at an exit strategy for themselves, for their family, because of how long. Mitch has alluded to it. He actually put it very well a couple of days ago. Like, everybody's time frame as far as their how much trauma they can take is different. For some, it's 5 years. For some, it's 15. For some, it's almost 30. It's just, and that's okay. There's no
right.
It's okay, because if it's 8 years and you're like, it's time to pass the torch. I'm done with that.
Oh yeah,
that's perfectly okay.
And people don't realize that. They don't. They really don't. the this career, being a first responder, takes so much of a toll on your mind, your body, your family, your life.
Yeah.
I mean, good God, I'm just starting to make friends again. I mean,
Right.
that's
Actual
friends
friends.
outside, actual friends outside
Yes.
of.
I've been very, very blessed in my best friend of 30 years, Adam, has been, man, that guy, the phone calls he's taken at wee hours in the morning from a blubbering dude. The days in the mountains of when he knows I don't even have to say anything,
Yeah.
because we're hunting partners, as well as just sitting in the mountains, and I just get the arm put around me because I don't have to say anything.
Yep.
And what's I would encourage anybody that if you're thinking something's wrong, that means something's wrong. And I pray that nobody goes through. Well, for me personally, I pray that nobody lets it get to what I let it get to, with the family issues, because I know now at 52 years old, the vicarious trauma that I put on my wife, my children, I can't ever take that back. And it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart to even think about that. Even though at the time I'm thinking I'm doing right and I'm doing good and I'm doing the loving things, looking back on it, the kids, like
yeah.
they see dad with this explosive anger, and at the time they're 12 and like, what the hell? They don't understand.
And not only that, how much have you missed? How many ball games have you missed? How many class plays? How many, how many dinner dates could you have gone on with your wife?
Yes.
I mean, even, get-togethers with family. Christmas was always held. I mean, I was the first one who made the date for Christmas.
Yep.
And then
all
the other families did their stuff after.
Yep. And how many times did everybody have to fall in line with us because of what we do for a living?
Yeah.
Right? Well, dad can't, or, can't get this day off. Like, hey guys, sorry, at the time I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You're going to have to work around me because that's the way this job works.
Exactly.
And that's to my best friends, my fam. And it's like, no more.
Yeah.
No more. I'm 52 years old. I'm healthy. I got a lot of life in front of me. I want to continue seeing my wife every single day when she walks through the door. This has been the best. I can't tell you. As a matter of fact, Thanksgiving this year, on Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving dinner at some family. And as we're driving, I told my wife, I go, you realize this is like the second Thanksgiving I've had in probably 9 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Because you're working.
With my schedule, I had every Thanksgiving off.
Nice.
Because I worked at Christmas I could care less. But for Thanksgiving, I would get off work at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd come home. We'd pack everybody up and drive another 4 hours to my in-laws' house and spend the weekend there.
Nice.
Up in the mountains.
Yep.
And that's one thing I regret, too, is I don't go up there anymore. They have a place in Northern California that is like in the middle of the national forest.
That's my
nobody
church.
Around. The nearest town is 30 minutes away either direction.
Oh, that's where I'd want to be. Why are you even here right now? Why are you there? Like, that's
no, because I have grandchildren.
Oh, I do too. And when you talked about that, coming out of retirement and that purpose, Mitch and his wife are younger parents. They have younger kids. Because Mitch is just now learning to grow facial hair. Let's be honest. He's
it's coming in. It's coming in.
It is. But for me, that was what, my kids are grown, both with the military route, same as I did. And on that, our daughter's the youngest. And man, I remember when she left for the military, and she was only going to be gone for like 9-10 months. But it was like, well, now what? like, even though I'm still working on, like, I literally, I lost my I had no purpose anymore because we spent our lives raising kids. And then that first grandbaby was born. You're like,
Oh, there it is.
there's my purpose. And
There's
he is
my
my
purpose.
buddy.
Yeah.
Like, and now I've got 2 grandsons. So,
Well, I actually have 10 grandchildren.
wow.
I lost touch with 2 of my stepsons. Because of the ex-husband, the second ex-husband, and just recontacted with them because my biological son, those are his half siblings, and so we finally got back in contact with them. So I have one of them has 5 kids, 3 are adopted, and the other one has 1. My oldest granddaughter is in the Navy, and she is a military police in the Navy. I'm so proud of her. I really, she's on a ship, so it's like, oh, even better. And then my youngest 2 are out here, and they're 2.5. Twins.
I love this. But this is what it's about.
And so my 4.5-year-old grandson, he and I are the best buddies.
Yeah.
But being able to do something for your kids like this, it just means so much to me. To be able to help with my I'm like the third parent almost because I see him so much, and it just he's just a great kid. He really is. It makes it easy.
Well, as we wrap up, you've given some advice, and I've told people my advice. You want to be a cop, don't do it. I'm kidding. Do it.
Run away.
Absolutely do it. It's the best whisper in the world. But what about like resources? Are you involved in any resource groups? I know you talked about the power.
Well, I try to keep resources available. So like First Responder Support Network is an excellent resource.
Okay.
They have like listings of therapists that are culturally competent that you can go to.
Look that up. Can you say that again? First Responders?
First Responders Support Network.
Love it. First Responders Support Network.
What is it? West Coast Post Trauma Retreat is a good one. And I think they have one now back east. So not just the one in Southern California, but they have one like in Kansas or something. So that's good. Also the Overwatch Collective.
Somebody's awake.
Oh, hi, baby. Come here.
He's awake.
He's awake. Can you say hi?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay. The Overwatch Collective, they do fundraising to help pay for those first responders and veterans that can't afford mental health care.
Okay.
So I actually donate to them. And they have an app, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And then what else is there? There's so much, lots of stuff for veterans out there. That a lot of these places that are for veterans, like I think Warrior's Heart is one of them.
Yeah.
But they also take first responders.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So if you look up these veteran places that do retreats or clinics or mental health, they'll also take first responders in, which is really good. And then I guess there's one in Massachusetts.
Cool.
One of the podcasts I was on, Hope Beyond the Badge. Linda Kokoros, her son was committed suicide.
Oh.
And she started a group back there.
And he was
to help.
He was an officer?
Yeah, he was officer back in Massachusetts, and she's just a wonderful lady.
And I've said it before. It's tragic to me that in the law enforcement, first responder community, that there's a daily running number for that, and that's tragic.
First Help. I don't know if you're familiar with them. For those of you listening, my grandson's up, so he's going to add some commentary.
That's okay.
Add some commentary here. First Help. They have first Blue Help, Gold Help. They kind of keep track of suicides within the country for first responders, and they kind of keep a running tab of those that get reported. but they also do preventative stuff, and they have retreats and stuff through them.
Perfect.
Yeah, a lot of.
There is.
Great. Yeah, those are great.
I mean, there's so much out there. Just and listen to the podcast.
Yes, absolutely. More and more.
Listen to podcasts, and there's so many resources out there, and just books, and it's amazing.
Yep.
Well,
awesome. Well, Deborah, we thank you so much. Yeah, this has been awesome. I'm a people person. I love every person. I really do. And to meet you and to hear your story has just been awesome. And especially now that you got that new little purpose sitting there with you, your grandson, which is just even better. Such a blessing.
We can't wait to share your story. We appreciate you, Deborah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for allowing me to do this, because this is, to me, I can't do much as far as like the speaking circuit or going out and teaching, but I can go on podcasts and I can tell my story so that somebody out there doesn't feel alone. I want to be that person for them that I never had, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. Mitch and I have talked about it, like that. The whole purpose of this venue is to hopefully that your story, hopefully somebody will assimilate with your story, and you'll have an effect. And as far as speaking circuit, that would be my dream job. I would love to do something like that. I wouldn't even know how to start. I wouldn't even know where to go, but I seriously, that would be my dream job. I love public speaking and always have.
Oh, there's so many out there doing this and putting on conferences regarding mental health and just getting out there. I mean, my dream is to go in front of every single top cop in the nation and tell them that they have a problem and they need to get their heads out of their asses and do something about it.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, you want your cop car? Here.
Well, Deborah, you go enjoy that grandbaby. Mitch and I are gonna do some wrap up stuff here. Thank you again so much for coming on here. And you have our email. We would love to hear from you.
Oh my gosh!
Still stay in touch, right? This isn't just a one-off.
You guys have been great, and awesome. I mean, and you're going through the journey like I did, so that makes it even better.
Which is why we're doing this, because and Mitch and I are going through this journey together, and really it was, and I've said it before, it was a godsend that I mean, him and I have known each other since he. I started training him when he was a baby deputy.
Over 10 years for sure.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, and it's and he's the one, like I said in the beginning, he called me. He's like, "Let's do a podcast." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing a podcast. Like, that's the dumbest idea ever."
Now look where we are.
And now here we are, over 1,000 listeners, and
I'm hoping maybe one day I'll get that brave, but until then, I'm just going to be a professional guest.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, please, subscribe, follow, do whatever the buttons are. Again, we're not getting paid for this. Nobody's getting paid for this. Everybody that just comes on here, we're all passionate about the same thing, and that's mental health and making sure that first responder community is taken care of, because as we mentioned in our intro, you are never alone. You're never, ever alone in this. There are people out there. Reach out to us via the website. If you want to come on and talk and tell your story, we would love to have you come on and tell your story. And Deborah, if you know anybody else that would love to come on and tell their story as well, please forward our information. It would be great. Other podcasts.
If anybody just needs an ear, you can get a hold of me. I'm on Instagram under D911 Green, and my link tree is in there. And just shoot me a message.
Let's put that in the bio for this story for sure. I'm
on TikTok. I know, really. I do little.
I'm not even on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok, man. That's where
it's about
at.
To be banned. No.
Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Facebook is just for immediate friends and family. So sorry, guys. But yeah, I'm always available.
Awesome. All right. Well, you go enjoy that grandbaby, and we will be in touch.